Hello everyone, it is Teri Cardula with Talking with Teri, and I am so excited to be jumping on here with you today to, yes, share with you some more tools. So my passion is really helping women to really level up in their lives, to step into and own their zone of brilliance, because that is where the magic happens. That is where possibilities come to us, and we can really create the life that we desire. So many of you know that I'm a transformational life strategist, and I really help women and female entrepreneurs to eliminate all the self-sabotage, the head trash, and the stories that no longer serve us. And I do so by using some outside-the-box tools to really help individuals transform their lives and step into the magic of them. So I'm going to be sharing with you today some more tools to help you do that, because I am seriously on a movement. I am on this quest to really impact millions of people's lives by shifting the way we think, by owning our brilliance, and that's what I'm here to do today. So let's get started. The first thing is this: I truly believe that we are potent beings, and our potency speaks volumes. When we're in that place of positive potency, we can see it, we can feel it, and we feel like we're on fire. Like we just feel like we're on top of the world, right? But the same is true is when we are, our potency is in the destruction mode, where we kind of find ourselves spiraling out of control. We can be very potent then too. And so we get to choose, and personally, if we get to choose, I'm always going to go to the positive. So we are potent beings when we get into that place and understand truly how we are creating that in our lives. And the next thing I will say is I truly believe that we all deserve happiness. It is a birthright. I really want you to own that and be in a place where you're stepping into your happiness and bringing in massive amounts of joy into your life as well. Many of you know that I was traditionally trained as a therapist. So my background as a therapist has come in and has served me so well in this life. When I was working in the counseling practice, a lot of individuals are coming in with trauma, depression, severe anxiety. I found my role was they come in here and we'd work up to here, and then this is where I'd say, okay, fire me. You no longer need me. We've reached our treatment goals. But what I discovered is really where my passion lies is taking individuals to here and then like rubbing up against this and then allowing them to level up even more in their personal or professional life. And that truly is exciting for me to watch that transformation. And so that is when Talking with Teri was born. Really what I'm about is really helping individuals that are in this place to really just level up in their lives. Over the 19, almost 20 years in that field, I realized that there was a lot of commonalities that were happening for individuals that were struggling with certain things in their lives. And so I'm going to pick the top 3 or 4 here that really stand out as the big problem areas that a lot of people struggle with and that are their big challenges in life. And I want to give some tools around those. I do have a little disclaimer. Some of these tools are a little outside the box, but I know that if this is for you, play with it. And allow yourselves to be open-minded, allow yourselves to be open to the unknown, and allow yourself to play along, because the tools that I'm going to share with you today are really, really powerful. When I first got into this work, in my own personal development and my own personal work, I realized that I was being introduced to all these various laws of the universe. And there are lots of laws of the universe that govern the way in which various atoms or energy work in the world. And so I got introduced to the law of attraction. And I said, wow, this is too good to be true. Like, really, if this was truly a thing, how powerful could we all be? And wow, we could just create massive, massive things in our lives. And so I honestly thought, too good to be true, I'm going to discount it. Well, I started to geek out and started to research it. And the further I dug and the more I learned, I really discovered how powerful this law of attraction is. And truly, it boils down to like attracts like. But really what it is it's how atoms and how molecules react to each. It's how energy, it's quantum physics. And quantum physics is guided in science. So there's a science behind this. And so a lot of people say, well, if you don't believe in it, it doesn't work. Well, here's the thing. Whether you believe in it or not believe in it, it's happening. It's there for us. It is part of us, the universe. I started to really capitalize on this. And I started to learn how are ways that I can use this to my advantage again and again to create more and more in my life. I've had massive success as a result of it. And so I want to introduce you and kind of layer on top of some other layers of tools that you can be using in your life as well. But that is sort of a foundation for me and where I come from as far as my framework goes. Another way of thinking about it is what you think about, you bring about, right? And so that leads me to share with you one of the first areas that I've found where people struggle with, because working with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of clients over the years, I've realized that one of the biggest challenges people face is the negative thinking, the stinky thinking, if you will, and how we see ourselves, how we see the world, how we are so easily ready to beat ourselves up when something goes wrong or when we perceive something not going the way we'd like to have it. We are in a culture where there's massive self-hate. And I really want to change that and shift that, because I know we have brilliant women and men in this world, and they're ready to step into that zone of brilliance and really shine in the world. So the first thing is that negative thinking. Most of my clients, that when they come into me, they're feeling, really unfulfilled. They're consumed with their negative thoughts. They are just feeling like they're in this mediocrity, state of place. And I'm ready to shift that. So when we start talking about this negative thinking and where we're at and the stories that we tell ourselves, so often that those negative stories or those negative thoughts that we are cultivating within ourselves, most of the time they are stories that were given to us. Okay, whether we were a small child, a teenager, or even a young adult, or even now in our adult lives, most of the stories that we are taking on and we're owning are not even ours. They are given to us, and we have then brought them into our awareness, and now we have then created this internal dialogue around these stories for them to hold space now. And oftentimes these stories, they may have served us back then when we were a child to protect us, whatever way they served us then. But in today's day, they're not serving us, and they're actually creating havoc on our lives, because we are still pretending to be this 5-year-old child in a 30 or 40 or a 50-year-old body, and this is not serving us. So we have got to break the habit of those stories, and that they're no longer serving us. Don't let other people's stories steal your glories. Okay, let's not give them any more power. And so one of the tools that I want to teach you today is very powerful. And what this tool does is it really helps to clear out and cancel out the negative thoughts. Because what happens is with negative thoughts is that we are told a negative thought, or we internalize a negative thought, and then it starts to activate our reticular activation system in our brain. And that part in the brain actually scans our environment to find information to support it or not to support it. And it's really designed to find the evidence. So if we're having positive thoughts, it's going to support positive thoughts. If we're having negative thoughts, it's going to support our negative thoughts. And it's going to find evidence in either one of those capacities. And so we want to cancel out the negative thoughts so that they're not taking havoc, because that negative thought comes in, and what happens is we start to think about it and process it and internalize it and find the evidence, and it just grows and festers. Okay, and pretty soon, if we hold on to these thoughts long enough and we find enough evidence, eventually over time, what that becomes is a belief system for us. Now, most belief systems can be boiled down into I'm not blank enough, right? It's about not being enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not intelligent enough. I'm not lovable enough. I'm not worthy enough. It's I'm not enough. And I'm here to tell you that you are enough just the way you are, and you bring a lot of uniqueness and amazing talents and gifts to this world, and the world is ready to see them. So let's get to that place where you can step into your best self. So what happens, negative thought comes in, like I said, it activates the reticular activation system, and then it finds evidence. right? And then it goes into that whole belief system. When we have a negative thought comes in, I want you to repeat after me. So grab a pen and paper and write this down. Negative thought comes in. Interesting point of view that I have this interesting point of view. Interesting point of view that I have this interesting point of view. Interesting point of view that I have this interesting point of view. So what it does is it cancels it out. It doesn't allow us to take it on. It doesn't allow us to own it. It's a cancellation button. So you want to say it 3 times. So I'll repeat it again. Interesting point of view that I have this interesting point of view. Interesting point of view that I have this interesting point of view. And interesting point of view that I have this interesting point of view. Now, I like to layer and stack sometimes tools upon each other to make them even more powerful. So once we cancellate that thought, now I want to ask a generative question. And in doing so, I allow myself to open up to more of the possibilities. So I cancel it out, and then I would say something like, what else is possible? What else can I create and generate today? How much better can it get? Any one of those generative questions will help open up the energy and help allow you to stay connected to that energy source and allow yourself to continue to create. Many of us know that when we think about the negative thoughts in our lives, we think about the iceberg theory. And the iceberg theory is this: on an iceberg, 10% of what we can see of the iceberg is above water. Okay, let's think about that as the 10% of our conscious thought. Now, underneath that thoughts, or underneath the water, or underneath for the iceberg, 90% of the mass of the iceberg is underwater. So let's pair that to our brain, and that's our subconscious or unconscious thought. And so with that, it is said that we have 50 to 60,000 thoughts a day. That's a lot of thoughts, and only 2,000 of those, according to the National Science Foundation, is that they're conscious thoughts. It's said that 90% of those unconscious thoughts are negative. And so they're not serving us. They're not truly being in alignment with who we are. It's not serving us. If only of those 2,000 thoughts are conscious thoughts, guess who's running the show? Okay, it's not our conscious thoughts. Whatever you're thinking right now, those are the conscious thoughts. It is not running the show. The unconscious is running the show. And so we want to be able to stop those thoughts. So when people ask me, how often should I do this tool? I will tell them 10,000 times a day. But I know that I'm half kidding there, but how powerful this is the more we cancel out those thoughts, okay, the more we can bring those into conscious awareness and the less power they have. So when you start off using this tool, I recommend writing them on Post-it notes, posting them in your car, on your bathroom mirror, downstairs, wherever you can think of to put this so that you are bringing this into a conscious thought. So I really recommend, doing this 50, 60, 70 times a day. I know that sounds crazy in excess, but the more you do it, the more powerful you'll see the results. Because if you do it once, I promise you there is not going to be any change or impact or shift in your life. But if you do it, and whenever I'm doing a tool, I like to do it in excess to really see the impact that it has. So test yourself and really try to push yourself to do it 50, 60, 70 times in a day and see what you see at the end of the day. Now, I would also highly encourage you to teach this to someone else in your family, whether that's your kids, whether that's your spouse, significant other, friends, family members, people that are around you and surround you a lot, because when they start seeing you in those negative thoughts, they can actually come up with a code word, like the purple elephant, and then they can then help you, because most of the time those are not conscious thoughts. And so they can also help start canceling those out as well. And that's where the magic really happens. So do this tool as much as you possibly can so that you can see the results. That is the first one with the negative thinking. Now, I will also share another tip. And this is a tip that I write about in my book, Be the Magic of You, Tools to Transform Your Life. I tell people, if you want to shed 10 pounds of negativity, a really quick and easy way to do so is to either reduce or eliminate the news. I have to tell you that the news, I tell people all the time, news is a business. And with that business, they need to sell. And they're very successful in selling fear. Okay, that is their business. If you can just eliminate the news that you're taking in, especially at the end of the day, that last 45 minutes of our night is the most processed time of our day. And so if you're watching news when you go to bed, maybe we can change that or shift that in a different way if you feel like you still need to get the news. Now, it's clearly been about 17, maybe 18 years since I have stopped watching the news. And guess what? Any major event, someone will tell me about it. So I don't feel out of the loop completely, but I will have to say it has had a huge impact on the way I see the world, because the news, like I said, sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not true. It allows you to stop being in that fear place all the time, because news is all about fear. The second piece that I really want to talk about here is self-sabotage. We are so good about beating ourselves up and self-sabotaging our success. And I'm here to tell you it's time to stop. It is time to stop, with the self-sabotage. And we have perfected hundreds and hundreds of ways in which we self-sabotage. That's anything from procrastination, that's, quitting when it seems to get tough. That is not returning someone's call with a big, exciting opportunity. This is all about how do we get, it's when we start to get uncomfortable with leveling up. And honestly, it's stepping outside that comfort zone a little bit. But when positive things start to happen for us, we say, oh, no, I don't deserve this, I'm not good enough, right? Then those thoughts come back in, right? So when we are in that place of self-sabotage, which most of it's unconscious. We don't even necessarily know that it's happening, but in the process of growing and expanding, a lot of times when I work with clients, they say, this is what I desire. Here's my targets. Here's where I'd like to be, okay? And they start to play it out, and we start to put the tools there. And then what happens is it's like, oh my goodness, I wasn't really expecting that to really show up for me, and now that it is, like, what's this about? And so it is truly about owning that and really being comfortable in the uncomfortable and allowing ourselves to do that. So for many people, we sabotage our success with all of these behaviors that are not serving us. And it's based on fear. So give yourself some grace with this process, but I want to teach you a really, 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 really powerful tool that is literally one of my top favorites. I do this every day. I believe in it so much because it really allows me to shift out of my self-sabotage that happens, because we all get into it. It's just a matter of being aware of it and then stepping out of it. And the more we step out of it, the more we can create in that line, in that zone of brilliance. This exercise now, in some of my classes and in my workshops, I go into in depth why we're doing the things that we're doing with this tool. But for the training purpose on this video, I'm going to make it really quick and easy for you. Now, first of all, when I teach this tool, I want you to give me no stink eye, okay? Which means, when you're looking, when I'm teaching this, you're going like, what is she doing? What is she teaching us, okay? And the second thing is, I would love you to try this 10 times a day for the next week before you judge it, because it is really powerful. It goes like this. So you're going to find your karate chop, which is this point on your hand. So along your pinky, and it's just right there on the side. And you're going to tap that. You're going to tap that about 15 times. Now, I don't want you to necessarily get in counting mode of it, because we're just going to stimulate that point, okay? I want you to get out of your head as much as possible. Now, the next step, and I'm going to actually back up my camera a bit here so that you can see all of me. And so the next step is you're going to take these two fingers and your thumb, okay? And you're going to rub your collarbone. So my necklace is going to be a little bit in the way. You're going to rub your collarbone, and then your next hand with your finger is you're going to put it in your belly button. And I know, here comes the stink eyes. What is she teaching us? This tool is so powerful, and we're just going to do this for a couple seconds, and then we're going to switch again. Now, if someone was having a seizure and I did this to them, they would stop having a seizure. That's how powerful this is. This really hooks up all of our energy system in our body. Now, the next step is we're going to tap here 50 times, so 50. And so when I teach this, again, if you do this 48 times, you're fine. If you do this 52 times, you're fine too. I usually say, okay, that's about 10. That's about 10. And again, we don't have to be exact about this. We just want to stimulate this enough so that it can do the trick. And that's about 10, okay? So that's about 50 there. And then the next step is here. So same thing, about 50 times 50. And I'll count for us, that's about 10. And we're gonna continue doing this until we get through this round. Now, for some of you, you are going to, I typically do this at least once, if not twice, and sometimes I'll do it 3 times in a row, depending on when my indicator is for me. So for me, I will do this until I yawn. That's been an indicator for me in how I've perfected this for myself. Now, for some of my clients that I work with, they will notice an energy shift. They will just feel lighter. They will sigh or they will yawn. And so I will do another round. So I would go back through here. So 15 times here, a few seconds here, and then a few seconds here, and then 50 and 50. Okay, so that's considered one round. And so I would do this until I would yawn, and then I would know that I'm out of self-sabotage. This is a powerful tool. So how many times should I do this? I would say at least 10 times a day. So if you think about, if you do 2 rounds, that's 2 times. And so you would only have to do that 5 times. So the best way in which to do this, and remember to do this, is pair it with a habit that you're already doing. So most people brush their teeth in the morning, so you can pair this with brushing your teeth. Before you leave your house, before you leave to work or wherever you're going, you can do that in your car, maybe when you get to work. So pair it with a habit you're already doing, because that will be the most successful way of implementing a new tool. Now, I will tell you, whenever I'm in a transition phase in my life, or I am going through a change, or just things are shifting and changing and I may not know why, I will do this more often. And so I will do this in the upwards of 20 times a day just to keep myself clear. Now, if any of you are familiar with kinesiology or muscle testing, you can test yourself and see if you're in self-sabotage. And here's what I'll say, is most of the time when I have clients come in, about 50% of people are in self-sabotage. So you don't necessarily have to test it to do it. You can if you want. Doing it in a consistent way, and especially in those times of transition or a lot of things are happening in your life, just keep doing it, okay? The more you do it, the more results you'll see. And like I said, powerful, powerful tool. Do it for a week and just notice and document the shifts and changes and things that are showing up, because it's pretty powerful. One of my faves. The third thing that I find people getting really stuck on and really challenged by is fear. Fear is a normal, healthy emotion. It is part of our emotional repertoire, and it's here to serve us. So many of us are so afraid of our emotions, and we think they're bad, or honestly, they're just our guidance system. Emotions just give us information for us, and so they really are here to help support us and give us information. So when fear shows up, just recognize that it's a normal part of the process. And oftentimes fear shows up when we are starting to grow, when we are starting to expand, when we are starting to tap into the unknown zone. And so all of this is normal, natural part of the process. I'm here to tell you that it's okay, that fear shows up for us. Now, we are actually born with 2 fears. That's it. 2 fears that we are born with, and that is it. The first one, the fear of loud noises. That's what we're born with. And the second one is the sensation of falling. So those are the only 2 fears that we're born with. Everything else is learned. And so the cool thing about this is if it can be learned, it can be unlearned, right? And so this is the power in all of this. And I'm here to tell you that this is exciting times, because we can actually shift and change those fears that we have had and that have been deep-rooted for us. And I've seen the transformation in my clients day in, day out, how we can just help eliminate those neurological processes that have connected and formed based on that fear, and how it is showing up and how it's hindering us and blocking us from our massive success. I want you to think about this, is that fear, if you think about how fear shows up in our life and in our body, physiologically, fear shows up, increased heart rate, increased blood pressure. We have the the racing heart, we have all of this energy rush into our bodies that fills us with this butterfly-like feeling. It's that sweating palms. It's all of those physiological symptoms, right? So I want you to think about now, how does excitement show up in your body? Excitement shows up with increased heart rate, increased blood pressure, this rush of excitement and this rush of emotion over our bodies. It could be sweaty hands. All of this physiologically, and I want you to understand this, physiologically, how fear shows up in our bodies and how excitement shows up in our bodies is exactly the same. So if we get to choose, and it's up to our brain then to process this and to give meaning to it. So if we can, let's give meaning to it. That is excitement. I don't know about you, but anytime I've had an experience in my life that has taken me outside my comfort zone, yes, it is scary, but at the same time, there's a percentage of it, even if it's a little percentage, there's some excitement that's along with it. So what I do is when I'm like in this, in this fear state mode, I start to look at the fear and I'm like, okay. And then I start to shift my process and say, okay, what's really exciting about this? And then I start to look at the evidence, right? The brain's going to support us to start supporting the evidence of this experience. And I shift that experience where the fear is down here now and the excitement is in the forefront of my brain. And then again, the brain is going to continue to do what it does best and find evidence to support how exciting this is for us. And so we can honestly just start shifting the perspective of that fear that's showing up, because the fear is just showing that we're growing. And that to me is super exciting. And that's an amazing place to be at, because how fear shows up for us is oftentimes in the hesitation. We hesitate in taking action. An opportunity or a possibility shows up for us, and then we hesitate and we stop. And so honestly, when we hesitate, we terminate. Meaning when we hesitate on that energy flow, we actually terminate that energy flow by allowing us to be open to those possibilities, and we can say yes to those possibilities showing up for us and allow us to grow outside that. It becomes really exciting place to play in. I'm going to say start small. Start by finding small pieces of evidence. So doing things each and every day that are different for us, that allows us to really get comfortable and build up our ego, that we can step out of our comfort zone time and time again and be okay. So it might be driving a different way to work. It might be something small or what you think mundane and meaningless, but what happens is we're doing something for the brain, and the brain then says, oh, well, you did that differently, and that was okay. Let's do something else differently, and let's expand a little bit more. And each time we expand a little bit more, and each time we take that risk of just some, and I'm talking baby steps here. Let's not jump from here to here yet. Let's take little tiny baby steps so that when we expand that, we expand our comfort zone. We expand the unknown, and we start to explore the unknown in a much bigger way and in a safer way. And then the brain goes, well, goodness, I did start here, but now I'm here. And now that little thing that was over here that's like now, this far away, doesn't seem that scary. I've created this really amazing relationship with my brain that says I'm okay and that I'm safe. And so we want to start small and build outside of that. And so I'm going to encourage you to do something, small every single day. Now, Eleanor Roosevelt says, do something that scares you every single day. And I have to second and agree with her again and again and again, because she was a smart lady. So absolutely doing something that pushes us, that allows us to grow on a much bigger area. I will say that it takes persistence to overcome resistance. I will also say this: when fear shows up, I want you just to say hello to it. I want you to acknowledge it and literally say hello to it. Because when we acknowledge it, it gives it less power automatically. And we say, oh, hello, fear. I see you. Okay? I think sometimes fear just wants to be seen. And so let's give it its 5 minutes of fame, and let's just recognize that fear is showing up in our lives and acknowledge it. And then what I love to do, because fear is trying to tell us something, and if we really close our eyes and we get centered and we ask our body a question, we can get really clear about what it's trying to serve us at this time. So I like to close my eyes and I like to say, my body, what is it that you're trying to tell me that I'm refusing to hear? And then I silence myself and wait for a response. I can get an awareness right there. I might be able to get an awareness an hour later. I may get a response a week later. But when it drops in, you usually know and you're like, oh, there it is. I see you. So by asking that question, again, that question is, my body, what is it that you are trying to tell me that I'm refusing to hear? And so once you get that awareness, that can help you move forward with that next step and knowing how to move forward with that information and what it's trying to tell you. I will say, everything that we are trying to create, every major desire is right outside of our comfort zone. And so we have to be willing to push the envelope a little bit in order to create that in which we desire. And the brilliant part of this is that we can retrain our brain. It has been researched and it has been proven that we can retrain our brain. And so it starts now. It starts with you taking action and really embracing all of you and all of the possibilities that you have. These are just a few. It's like tip of the iceberg of some tools that I want to share with you today to get you moving in the right direction, because I feel like this is a foundation. And when I start with clients, this is the foundation. This is where I have them start, because we can do massive work beyond this. And so I want to give you this so that you can start implementing this in your life right away, because this is just tip of the iceberg, what we're dealing with, but it will have a massive impact in your lives if you're consistent with it and if you're implementing it every single day. It is your time to say yes to your success. It has been such a joy jumping on here with you today. Honestly, we get to set the new rules with our new tools. So let's start creating some magic within. I would love to connect with you. If any of this has resonated with you, if any of this has been of value to you, I would love to connect with you. I love helping and supporting individuals to really level up in their lives and really owning that zone of brilliance and really stepping into the magic of themselves. So if you're ready, truly ready to level up in your life and take the next step, I would love to offer you a free 30-minute consultation and where we can learn about where you find yourself struggling, what is holding you back. And I will always throw in a customized tool just for you based on that conversation. So take advantage of this. Let's explore where you're at and where you're heading. And I'd love to connect with you. Until the next time we meet and connect, be brave, be fearless, be the magic of you. Take care, everyone. Bye.